Hello, everyone. We are live.
Oh, this is scary, man.
Yeah, man, my eyes are moving. Oh, wait,
Are they
I don't know what's
following
happening.
where you're looking?
uh, Not sure what AI is
I
doing
think
to me, but it's good fun.
your eyes are in disagreement with your brain.
Exactly. As happens pretty often, to be honest. All right. So let's see if I can find something that's a little less distracting. This is, yeah, it's a bit much. Wait, I'll stick to something
This is
like
nice.
this or, nah, this is the best. I still like this one the most.
I'm
Yeah, if you,
analog, dude. You digital, I'm analog. It's a nice
exactly.
balance.
It is. And the funny thing is, I'm in a place where everything is analog in the French countryside, and you're in a place where everything is digital in like California. So it's it's kind of a strange
Nice.
combination. It
Exactly.
all
Exactly.
fits.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, how about what let's talk about what we're going to do today. How about you kick that off?
Yeah. Let's see. So, lots of Next.js excitement has been happening this week. Next.js 12 is out. Uh, a bunch of new features on Versailles is available. So why don't we have some fun with that? Since
Yeah.
that's getting some traction and love, and
Yes.
let's see how we can take a vanilla Next.js app and wire it up to a uniform canvas. And in terms of why, what we want to achieve is turning a static page that you get by default from Next Starter into a content-driven page. So we're going to wire it up to two different CMSs through Uniform. And we're going to add personalization on top of that with tracking. And we're going to deploy it to Vercel with edge functions running edge side personalization mode. So we're going to alternate between um, client side personalization running locally and edge side personalization. And then see if we can empower creation of brand new pages without code changes. So that's going to be our goal today. How
Wow.
does that sound?
It's a pretty intense and also lots of stuff to do, and I'm really excited, and
Yeah.
especially and because it's all this new for sale stuff. Like they came out with this like 2 3 days ago, and we are basically full on ready to show everything we do with it, which hopefully
Yep.
will be impressive. Let's see if how the demo effect treats us.
Yep.
But I'm
We'll
assuming
see.
we're going
It's
to be
gonna be
good.
live. It's gonna be
Exactly.
lots of
Everything's
new
live.
stuff coming together.
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
Everything and nothing. I love it.
All right, let's get
Right.
going.
Yeah, yeah. Share your screen and let's kick this off.
All right, sharing the screen. Boom. How does that look?
That looks great. How
Let me
about we
shut
start like
down.
this? Yes, exactly. Cool.
So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start with Next.js getting started page. We're gonna use uniform, and we're gonna use contentful and content stack. I already have some content in these headless systems. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be alternating between the docs, our own docs, and some notes I've been taking. So just to streamline this process of putting things together. So.
Yeah, exactly. All
Um,
good.
But everything that you'll be seeing here, you'll be able to do yourself. Though the Vercel Edge functions is just came out, so we have internal support for that. So that will be coming out very soon.
Yeah.
But you're able to do the same with Cloudflare workers or Netlify Edge handlers if you have access to that. So this is not uniquely available in Vercel, but because this is so hot, we gotta try that
Yeah,
with
this is like
hot
fresh
tech.
off the press, man. I'm ready.
Exactly.
Let's do
Exactly.
it.
All right. So let's get our brand new Next.js app going here. So I'm gonna run this in the console. We're gonna use live stream live. to live.
So, for all the people watching, while we're doing this, feel free to ask any questions if something seems odd or we're making typos, which Alex never does, but who knows?
Yeah,
Feel free to comment and see what's up here. Okay, so we're gonna go create next app. Did you just do that? Yes.
we just did that. So
Cool.
we're gonna CD into our live stream demo live, and then we're gonna start VS Code on that and see if we can get the app up and running. So let's check out dependency. So we're using hot new Next.js 12 and
Yeah.
check out
So,
how fast it is to
yeah, that's what I
compile the
want to
app.
ask. Like this startup, is that Webpack 5 or is that Rust?
It's all Rust, baby. Like a
Really?
3.1
Dang.
seconds cold compile,
Yeah,
and
that
it's
is
gonna be
something. Like
pleasant.
for me, what is interesting though is like they didn't go to something with ES build, but they just made the Webpack thing faster. I think it kind of makes sense because everything runs there anyways, and it runs so well. Right? Nothing breaks. So yeah, good.
Yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, so we're gonna start building stuff here. What do we have here? So we have single page. This is what's we're showing here. See if I can do split screen here. If that's too small. How's that? Is that okay?
That looks great.
Let me just make this a little bit bigger, maybe.
Yeah,
There we
exactly.
go.
Yeah, because normally that React app should be responsive, so a bit more code. Yeah, all good.
So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna turn this code into code driven by data, by content.
Yep.
So first and first, we're gonna split this page into two components. So we have component number one here and component number two, this grid. They will live in the separate components. This will make our lives much easier, right? So let's go ahead and do that. See, I'm terrible typist here. I'm gonna call it hero
The more
JSX.
often you go live, man, the better you start typing.
Yeah, we should do it more often. So I'm creating new React component here where I'm
Yep.
rendering exactly the same markup. And because we have two tags here, the same level, we need to wrap it into fragment. And this is our extracted hero component. So this means we can just replace this with hero and hopefully maintain the same sort of experience, except for the styles. So we need to bring our styles into hero. So let's go ahead and do that. There we go. So balance of the universe restored. Then we're gonna take
Cool.
this grid out and do the same thing for the grid. So I'm gonna create new component called grid, JSX, component, call it grid, because why not? And we're gonna replace this with the same markup. We probably need to drag our styles into the grid as well, because it's referencing some of the home styles. And grid, now we just replace these hard-coded JSX in here and refactor two components. So
Yeah.
simple as that. This will help us a lot as we move forward for this. So our next step, what we want to do is control placement of these components outside of code. So what we're going to do, create these two components in uniform, and we're going to use uniform API output to render out these components based on how they are placed on a composition. So composition is it's a structure that describes how to compose your particular page or particular portion of the page. So we're going to model these two guys in uniform. So
Okay,
I'm
so
gonna,
maybe for the people that are watching that don't know us just yet, because they came for all the next magic, can you maybe give
yep,
like a bit of a global overview of what we do at Uniform and why this is actually super cool to put into this stream?
yeah. Thanks, Tim. Yeah. Um, so what we do, we're providing the first truly composable digital experience platform. It sounds like A lot of buzzwords maybe to some, but
Sounds magical.
what this allows us to do is use headless technologies, best of breed headless technologies, and turn them into a digital experience platform. So essentially allowing marketers to compose pages without code and to use personalization A/B testing on top of those pages. So developers keep using the tech that they love, like Next.js. We're not controlling how you build components, completely up to you. So you have the same freedom you've been enjoying in the headless CMS context, but you
Yeah.
business users get the value of being able to visually construct pages, whether it's landing pages, product detail pages if you're in the commerce land, maybe it's screens for mobile. So these entities are channel agnostic that we call compositions. Compositions built from components. Um, so that's that's bridging the gap between these two worlds through components, right? So
Yeah.
components will be modeled in uniform as entities created by business users without code and mapped to your React or Vue components, depending on what you use in your code base.
Yeah, so generally how I try to explain it is imagine you're a developer, right? And you're building you have all these headless sources and you connect them up in your front end, you make a Jamstack site. That's lovely. Everybody likes doing that because you can choose exactly what you want. And then you have these content editors and marketers come to you and say, "Hey, I have these 5 products and I have content from this system and content from that system. Can you just make me a page tomorrow where you connect everything up?" And then developers are like, no, I am mid sprint. How do you expect me to just do that? And so generally you do because you're a developer, you like to do a good job and you figure it out. But wouldn't it be nice if you build this the correct way once and it just works? And then you get away from that feeling of annoyance that you have to build this thing while you don't have time. But there's also annoyance on the other end. Like content editors are like, oh, but I can never do what I want. And now you can,
Yep.
because we make this thing where you can connect all these headless sources together in one place. You can drag and drop stuff. And then on the front end, it's one SDK, and you don't even have to know what these sources are. And it just kind of works really easily.
Yep.
And so that's why we want to show you this as well, on top of all the fancy Next stuff, because it works so well together.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much the technology stack we have available. We have more integrations. We have integration with Salesforce CMS as well. It's just not featured here yet. But yeah, you pick your integrations. We do the heavy lifting of pre-wiring all those integrations for you and providing business user an interface to create these structures that will be powering our pages. So you have options at any point. And here I can actually select multiple CMSs if I wanted to. So for this demo, I'm going to pick 2. I can also add commerce if I wanted to, but maybe that's for another live stream. And we're going to, of course, use Next.
Sure.
So here we're entering the process of establishing connection between your uniform project that I just created in this guided setup. And either you can create new space or you can link to an existing space in Contentful. So I already have some content in there, and that content will drive the heroes.
Oh yeah,
So I have 3 of them already in there, so I'll be able to repurpose that content. And since we want to show you the power of choice, you also have a choice of adding another CMS, maybe another CMS on your existing project.
This is honestly, like, if you have never seen this, this is pretty insane. We're literally connecting now to multiple CMSs that in the same interface you can grab content from and then compose with.
Yeah, exactly. And for content stack, since we don't want to duplicate content, we're actually going to model our grid items in there. And these grid items are
Yeah,
going to be powering this list. So every tile is modeled as a entry in content stack. So you see our documentation with title,
there you
text,
go.
and there should be a URL in here. It's
So
missing.
thank you, Hisham, for your comment, by the way. I'm just jumping in between because it's so cool if people actually interact with us. Means they're watching.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
you can
Love
lurk, as
comments.
you call it as well, right? Of course. But if you wanted to say, hey, dude, why don't you just do Sitecore? We might do it, maybe not this stream, but who knows?
Yep.
Anyways,
So I'm gonna save these for later. This will be API keys we'll be using for our project moving forward. And so at the end of that process, we have project already wired up with all these integrations. So we have 3 of them. Canvas is actually one of the integrations, the platform.
yeah,
So I can add more later if I wanted to, but we have 2 integrations for CMS. So let's get started with those. So first step, as you remember, we have our components. So we need to model these components as a first step. So first component is called hero. Everything is managed in component library under Canvas. So we're gonna pick a cool icon of Apple Watch, because why not, for hero.
okay, sure.
And hero is, what is hero rendering? Hero is rendering some title and some text. So that's what we're actually gonna start with without a CMS. So we're gonna just model them as text fields. And this will allow me to show you how to switch from CMS to CMS. So these types, these are just basic text primitives storing title and text for hero. Later on, we're actually going to link it to a CMS. So that's for later. So that's our hero. Then what else we have? We have a grid, right?
Yep.
Component.
And is this one of the nice candidates for using slots here? Because we have items inside the grid, right?
Oh yeah. So that's actually
Okay,
something we'll
I'm a
be
little
doing
bit
later.
ahead. I'm sorry.
Then we're gonna need to have a third component type that would actually be representative of our page. But we sort of don't have to do that. So if we want to turn component into composition, we just can toggle this box. And what this means is that I can now create new compositions from this component called hero. So you don't have to start with a page. If you want to swap out one component of your existing app with a composition driven component, you can. I'm going to call it home. And you can see this is the canvas editor, and we have because it's a single composition, a single component composition, we only have hero in here. So we cannot add other components. We'll get back to that in a second. But hello world will do here for
Yep.
content. And I'm not gonna publish this yet. So this is now in draft setting an entity we called home composition. It doesn't have a slug. You don't have to use a slug. And now we can pull that into our app and see whether we can render this data and the actual hero composition. So in order to do that, I'm gonna go to our tutorial and I'm gonna switch to the section called fetching data from Canvas. And I'm gonna start importing our SDK.
Yep.
Before we do that, we kind of need to install the packages, don't we?
Would be nice.
So npm install Canvas, Canvas React, because Next.js is using React, and CLI. CLI might be optional actually at this point.
Well, it could be that you have it globally installed, right?
So yeah, so we got 3 packages.
Yep.
And now we can start, let's restart our server, and then we'll start bringing in Canvas client into our index route. So
Yeah, and so this Canvas client basically provides the SDK to query our services, right? That's what this thing does.
exactly.
Yeah, I tend to just narrate to make it myself understand, and hopefully
No,
then our
thank you for
audience will
that.
do the same.
Because I tend to under narrate.
Well, you're writing code, man. That's fine. That's why we do this together.
We'll do this together. So you can see Canvas client is instantiated here, and we need to pass API key and project ID here.
So are we
And
gonna
we need to
go
bring those
like
in.
living on the edge and copy paste, or we make an env file? Ah, okay, nice.
Yeah, let's make
Yeah,
it right.
yeah, let's do it right.
env.uniform API key, and this one I think is called uniform project ID. This will allow us to connect to the client. We also have another API host parameter here, and API host will be helpful if we're gonna connect through a proxy layer, which we'll talk about that in a second. So we're gonna fall back to uniform.app. In here, but in case if we override our API host, we can actually reroute the request to a TBD location. So let's leave it at that. And there's two ways to fetch our composition. One is get composition by slug, but we haven't used the slug. So we can use get composition by ID and pass the ID of our composition, which can be just retrieved from the URL.
Oh, yeah.
So there we go.
Thanks, Paul, for the nice mask. We have to do something, right? Honestly, the lo-fi version is actually better, like the real life one. But yeah, didn't always work.
Nice, nice. So what we're getting here is a composition from the response, and we're passing that into the props of our homepage. So that means we need to pick that up from here so we can render it. And let's render this outside of, inside of the main tag. So we're gonna do.
Yeah, just have a look at this composition, right?
Exactly. Just let's spit it out, see what happens. See what happens.
Oh boy, I just clicked one and I'm in a pool of blood. Oh, while we have a 500 error, I'm in a pool of my own blood. Wait, I'm gonna have to change this.
Probably need to restart the server after the env file is added.
Oh yeah, most likely that's it.
Minor details. Minor details.
Composition
not found.
Oh, did you publish?
Haha, that's the question, isn't it? That's the question. So what if, because I didn't publish, we can pass the state here?
Oh yeah, we can do a state for draft, exactly.
The draft up.
And there it is.
So we get our hero here. The name of the
You
composition.
might want to zoom in a little bit if you show it like this. Yeah, there you go. Cool.
There we go. And this is, we have our parameters.
Yeah.
So what we can actually do is render this out in slightly different fashion here. So one way is for us to retrieve these properties, title and text, is to use the composition component from our SDK, and we're gonna use render props to get it out. So this is our composition, and instead of doing it raw, we're gonna do something like that.
Hey Robert, did you just come in to say you're not gonna be able to watch? Thanks, dude. Thanks for coming in anyways. Because we have the suits on just for you, man.
See if we get our stuff here. There we go.
Yeah, there we go. It works.
Hello. Let's do split screen again. It's more fun. So
okay,
we get
so
our
you
title.
just retrieved your composition, and inside you get props, title, and text from that composition, basically, right?
So we're gonna get it rendered out here, title and text, and this is an extra semicolon got somehow trapped in there.
Yeah, I saw that as well. Ah, there we go. So can you show how this looks in, yeah, this is what I wanted to know. So you're getting your parameters back from your composition now, and that's what you're showing.
So that's our fresh
cool.
parameters in here. We also support hot reloaded preview, so that can be enabled on top of that. But we'll have to do control refresh, the browser refresh.
That's all good.
That's fine. So that's kind of getting this data raw. That's how it looks like using render props, but can do much better than that. Why don't we create the actual reference to the components that we already have, right? So we don't.
Yeah, because you just created grid and hero. So we're working on the hero at the moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's do it.
So We can do that, but we will also need to change things up a little bit here, because right now we cannot place any other component in this composition. It's a
Yeah.
single component composition. So this is where we're gonna need to create another, just full screen here, another component type called page, and this will be our proper composition. So within that page, we're gonna host multiple components. So we need a slot to be created for that. Slot is a place to host multiple components.
Yeah,
I can
exactly.
configure my slots here. I can do, let's say, I want to host grid and hero, and in future, I'll be able to personalize an A/B test, right? And let's just leave it at that. I don't need any other constraints. I can put more constraints in place, but totally optional. So here, let's put some sort of icon,
It's always
recognizable
the
icon.
challenge of selecting your icon, but you're doing it pretty well. It's like you research the icons.
Muscle memory.
Yeah, exactly.
So why don't we now recreate our composition? That will be slightly different composition type. You can see I now have page in addition to that. So we're gonna turn this into a home. Turn into a page composition type. We're gonna call it home. And here you can see I have this content slot where I can drop more components. Here's our hero. Here's our grid. Check this out. So I can
Okay, so
add
yeah.
any number of these if I wanted to in future.
And you
And
can
I can,
drag and drop them around, right? So you have different order and
exactly,
stuff. Yeah, cool.
exactly. So we kind of reconstructed this. So the ID has changed. So I need to update the ID wherever we're referencing it here.
Oh, because you made a new composition because it's a page now.
Yeah. So now it's
Ah,
a
okay, cool.
full-fledged page. And because of the shape of this composition, it has changed. So we do not actually see anything here because we now have
Yeah.
slots, right? So the slots, this is what the actual structure of composition looks like. You have slots, content, and then within you have an array of these components, hero and grid. So this means that we need to adjust our code in order to render out our components. So for that, well, first we need, let's go into our code. We're gonna need to change this. This is not gonna work for us because
Yeah,
it's gonna
because
be
now you have
rendering.
this, you have the slot now. So you need to find the slot and then show the data.
Exactly. So if my page itself had parameters like title and text, they will be rendered. So I can bring them back here. Text, text of type text. So you can actually store, maybe you have metadata parameters, hello world coming from the page, right? So in this case, the code will render out our components here and our title and text, but just not gonna be able to do anything with the hero and the grid. So why don't we change that? So we're gonna not use this, and we're gonna use another piece of SDK called slot, and we're gonna match the name content. So now in this case, slot will be able to render us hero, any number of instances of hero and grid component once it's placed, but it doesn't know where to find them.
Well, it needs to find the components itself, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we need to give it composition also have this function called, this param called resolve renderer,
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna need to bring that in
I
as a
think.
function
Ah,
to
okay, like
look up
this.
our
Yeah.
component. So in this case, this is just rendering component type, a name of the component, and not the actual component just yet. So let me wire it up. Now, there we go. We have a hero, and this is a grid. So we're
Oh, it's
just
just the
rendering the
component
type of the
type that it's
component.
showing. Yeah, exactly. Cool.
So we don't need that. So we need to return more something along these lines where we actually interrogate component type, and if the component type is hero, as it is set up in our component library, we have this public ID. This should match, right? Then we're gonna return it the hero component.
But this means you have to import the hero as well, right?
Exactly.
Actually, I'm learning React while we do this. This is nice.
Hero. Oh, where's my hero?
Yeah, line 2 and 3. There you go.
Uncomment this out. So we have a hero, and then we have a grid. And we just restored the original functionality of our next step.
we're back at the beginning.
But now structure of this page is controlled by uniform. So if I go and reorganize stuff, let's move grid up, refresh.
Now that works well. Cool.
So we're cooking. Okay, what else? We're not rendering the actual data yet.
No, exactly, because we have data for all these items in our CMS systems. So now we're going to have to do something with these components, right?
So we'll get those title and text. I know they're on the props, so we can essentially just replace hard-coded text with title and text. So we just destructure them from the props, and that's our title and text here. Let's see.
I don't see world anymore though.
Because
that's why.
We just destroyed the world.
There we go.
It's Halloween special, so
So for me, there's just one learning question here on my end when we look at this React stuff. So when you import this hero component and you return it in your resolver, how is that black magic happen that it's giving it all the props?
Well, it's the composition itself that will handle that. So it's gonna
our
have
SDK will just give it these props.
Yeah. Okay. So it's gonna have a map of all components you have. It's gonna know how to resolve it, and it's gonna push the props into them.
Great. Yeah, that makes it very easy actually.
So now we can just clean this up a little bit, and now we have our basics in place. We're gonna leave the grid as is for now. Right now we have hero component. Let's focus on that one. So the content, maybe it's time to wire it up to a CMS because we need to get to that.
Yeah, I think we're ready for our CMS stuff. Let's do a hero, right? Want to do the hero from CMS? Cool.
Let's do it. So the process, because the integration is already here, all we need to do is create another parameter. I'm just going to call it content ID, and I'm going to link to Contentful. And in Contentful, I have this. We actually support multiple environments now, in multiple spaces. So you can pull content from multiple spaces if you have multiple spaces in your Contentful setup. So here we're constraining the selection of this parameter called content to only pick heroes from our Contentful system, right?
Yeah.
And we might as well delete title and text because we don't need those parameters anymore because we'll be pulling from CMS.
So, Alex, what is your opinion here? How much stuff should you store in our system and how much should you store in the CMS?
Well, anything related to your core content model that belongs in CMS, right? Yeah. So that's anything that may be related more to presentation logic. Let's say you configure how many slides to show in your slider, just a silly example. That's more connected to the component itself and its configurability rather than to a particular slide you want to show in that slider, right? So slide is the core content model, and then how many slides to show and how frequently, maybe that's something you want to model here because that's a bit closer to the component itself. So it will also avoid you to pollute your CMS model with the specifics of your implementation. That could change over time, but your content could still be there in a more pure fashion.
So this means there's a true difference between actual content and presentational content. That is a pretty important distinction to make.
Yeah, Definitely. So here you can see we get a message that, hey, you have some title and text data, but it's not on the model. So we can just remove it because we're not going to need it. And instead of that, I have a content parameter here, allowing me to link to my heroes inside of my headless CMS. How about that? So I'm gonna
Noise.
do that as a link. Now content will be there. We'll be able to deep link into it. We're not pulling content. We're not owning your content. We're just referencing it. So if we look into our source, instead of title and text, we're storing a reference to a given entry in your given integration. Means that we're gonna need to have an additional process we call data enhancing that will actually go to your headless CMS and fetch these entries by ID. So we don't want to take over ownership of content, but we store the
No,
delta
because
between composition
exactly.
and what's shown on the page.
Because imagine there's sensitive content there, or you have some caching stuff going on, or you're changing data. We then suddenly have to become in the know of what you're doing, which shouldn't be what a platform is doing, right? It should be opinionless and completely open.
Exactly, exactly. So this is what would happen if you query uniform app directly. So we're gonna query our Canvas API endpoint. We're gonna give it a slug. This case, this is coming from another project. This is not this project, but helps me demonstrate the point here.
Yeah.
And you can see we also have a similar contentful entry here that's not expanded or enhanced. But if we route it through our proxy, which I'm running here on localhost 3333, and remove HTTPS, we will get this entry expanded. So we're actually going to get title and text out of contentful and available in the response. So depending where you route your API to, you're going to get this different behavior. Now,
And so,
this
just for people who are watching this code, that proxy, you can run that anywhere, right? You can actually put that on a serverless function, or you can run it in your own code base on SSR. Like it's just JavaScript.
exactly. You can bake it inside of your app. You can run it in your preferred environment where you run Node, or you can run it serverlessly, wherever it makes sense. This
Yeah.
case, because I'm gonna need to deploy in a managed cloud environment, I need network
Oh,
connectivity.
you
So I'm
might
gonna
want to
run
do
it in Grok.
HTTPS here, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
it
it
works
actually
both.
works. It opens both. Yeah.
So this is what we're gonna need to do. We're gonna need to rewire our app before we can get the actual data to go through that proxy. Setting this uniform API host will allow us to switch over API host in here to that proxy. And
I think you should restart this one. Yeah, exactly.
good
Because of
point,
the
good point,
environment variables.
point. All right, let's see what happens. I don't expect us to see anything because structure of our props changed a bit. So
Yeah,
let
let's
me,
have a look what these props look like.
so I'm gonna, so I was expecting these coming from props, but because we created that content parameter called content, everything is on
Yeah, you're gonna
content.
see it inside your content. Yeah, that's the name of the
Exactly.
thing.
So we need to just look it up from elsewhere. And then this will be coming from content instead. That's
Yeah,
it.
there we go.
Hero for everyone.
And this is actually now contentful data.
This is coming straight up from there.
Fancy.
Boom, boom, boom.
And we didn't even have to query contentful. That was just done for us. Nice.
Yeah, that was done on the level of enhancer that's running.
Yeah, that's in your proxy basically. That's
It's running
running
here locally.
behind the
Yeah,
screen. Yeah.
exactly. So we're good. We get our hero. Now let's wire up content stack as another CMS that will be powering our grid. Now the model for grid, and Tim, you alluded to that, though we did not rehearse it, but you
Oh,
saw where
sorry.
I'm
Yeah,
going with
I
this.
went a bit early.
You saw where I'm going with this. So I want to model this a little bit differently. I can model this as a list in headless CMS and just reference to an entry that stores a list with grid items, or I can model this with slots. So in other words, I can turn grid into sort of a container component. So I'm gonna add a new slot here called items. This could be any other name here. And I'm gonna pause here. I don't have the actual component to render an
Oh
individual
yeah,
tile
we
yet.
actually need to make a grid item component still.
Yeah.
Did
Some
I just
sort of,
take you completely off course with my comments?
no, that's actually what we need to do.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
course
Okay, good.
corrected me.
I forced corrected you. It's because of my
Forced.
outfit.
Yes. So now you can see we're picking from content stack and we've seen grid items here. I'm gonna make it a required parameter. Gonna call it content as well as we did before. It's sort of be a convention. And now I can now allow my component to be placed here. I can do it from my grid container or from grid item. I can actually click allow in a slot and pick grid container component and pick a slot where I'm expecting this component to be placed in.
That's
That's
a
it.
nice quality of life feature just right there, because otherwise you have to click around all the time.
Too many clicks.
Yep. Okay, so we
Now
have a grid.
additional slots. So check this out. I can add one grid item, documentation. I can add another grid item, examples. I can add another grid item, learn, and let's add a fourth one to deploy. So this is referencing these entries, and these entries will contain our title, text, and URL, which we can actually provide here. Next.js, Next.js, where's the learn? Start learning, learn basic. Let's put this link in here so we have some link.
Oh yeah, exactly. Cool.
There we go. So now we have the content, we're referencing this content. Now we should be able to render out this grid. Right? But now the grid renders our completely static stuff,
Oh
which
yeah. Okay.
is no good. So what we're gonna turn this, we're gonna extract this individual components into kind of smaller units, or atom level components.
Yeah. Cool.
And I'm gonna just pull it out from the,
Yeah, you already made these probably. It's easier to copy paste.
I'm just gonna copy paste exactly. So
Perfect.
will save us some typing time. What we have here, we change our grid to use a slot because we have a slot called items. And
Yeah.
then for every component, we're actually going to rendering the grid item here directly. So you have a choice of going through the function called render resolver and actually going to register grid item here if we wanted to. But if you don't want to mess with this, you can actually manually, if you know what kind of component you expect here to be rendered, you can just render it out through render props.
Yeah, you can choose your own children basically here, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Not much happening just yet.
Not much happening. Why is that?
Did
So
you
we have our
publish
grid.
or no, it should work, right? Even if you don't save.
I didn't save.
Oh, not even. Oh, okay.
No, living dangerously.
Yep. There we
Save.
go.
And now we have
Done.
completely layout driven composition here. I can move things around. Let's say, let's move our deploy first. And what this allows us to do is essentially personalize and A/B test individual elements here if we wanted to. So if we want to allow that capability, that's another benefit of modeling it this way. Inside of grid, I can actually allow personalization A/B testing by just picking those components.
Yeah.
And now check out, I have personalized this and A/B test this. So if I do want to personalize tile number 3, I'm able to do so. If I model that as a list inside of my CMS It might be easier to compose because I would pick an entry and the level of the grid, right? And CMS will bring me the list, the array of grid items, but I won't be able to personalize um, individual elements. I can personalize the whole batch, the whole list, but not the whole, not the individual grid items. So you have those options how you want to model this, depending on how much flexibility you actually need. So now, where are we? We have completely content-driven layout consisting of two components, sourcing content from two different CMSs. And now I can create new compositions, which we're gonna do later, that is gonna power a brand new page. Um, so that's actually maybe we should do that. Maybe we should do that just to show you another reason to go there. I'm gonna bring another page definition. This will be a slug page definition.
Oh yeah,
And
sure.
this is gonna be just a copy paste of index with exactly the same code, but it's gonna have an extra function here called get static paths. So we're actually gonna query Canvas for all compositions that have a slug, and they will be powering new pages that we want to create outside of our code. In other words, our compositions could start driving page structures on your site, again, if you wanted to. So if I'm gonna create another one called About Us and drop a hero and select Hero for Architects, give it a slug called About. Now what I am expecting here is that going to /about would render our route and our component.
There it is.
There we
Fancy.
go.
I love when things work so easily. That's good. You are well prepared.
So that's stage one complete. We have completely CMS driven app with dynamic components, and everything is controlled by business users without us needing to make any code changes. But that begs the question, can we do more than this? Can we start personalizing? What
You can
happens?
always do more, Alex. You know this.
Exactly. Let's do that.
Let's personalize something.
Let's personalize our hero. So I'm gonna click personalize this, and I'm gonna create a couple of more variants here. I'm gonna pick one hero for architects, another hero will be for developers.
Yo.
And then here I'm gonna need to tag these particular variants with a different intent. Before I do that, I'm gonna call this a hero personalization container, because this will be we'll be able to identify events in analytics related to different personalization activities. So we're gonna make sure we have a human readable name for this. You can see we have three variants, but there's no way to associate them with any intents. So intents allow us to target our content to a given intent. So we have one called for developers. So let's create one intent for developers. This is gonna be, we have a bunch of different signals that can resolve this intent. The easiest one will be add a query string d equals 1. We can control the strength of the signal. So every time d equals 1 is added to our page, developers will get a score of 100 strength, which will resolve this particular intent.
So while you set up the next one, let me just quickly go over how we do personalization, because we don't actually do rule-based stuff. We don't really have segments or personas and things like that. We look at intents, which is basically when you go to a website, you have an intent on that website, right? You want to buy something, or you want to read about developers or architects or both. And we actually have some sort of scoring based system where signals that you give off, like clicking on a link with a query string or having visiting a page, will basically signal your intent, and we figure out based on your actions what we need to show and what your intent will be, and then we do that with scoring. And so the only thing we would have to do is kind of tag these components with whatever intent they are for, and then the user will do things and we will figure out what they want and then show them the right stuff. And we can do that without talking to an origin server, which is really cool because this is basically blazing fast personalization. That was the
Exactly.
shortest I can explain it, I think.
Thanks,
But here we
Jim.
go.
Yeah, and having those intents here allowing us to associate them with a given variant, right? So we have two heroes, architects and developers. So things are set up, but our app, if you imagine we just added Canvas SDK, we haven't added anything related to our personalization, A/B testing. It's a capability we call optimize. So that needs to be added on top of that because it's optional. So if you don't have to personalize, you don't have to. You can just use Canvas directly. But we want to. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna bring a couple of more pieces of my little cheat sheet project. So here we're gonna add a couple of more. We're gonna need to add a container, uniform container. So we're gonna replace the existing implementation of the app.js file with the one that has instrumented wrapper around all of our app. We're also gonna need to add a couple more packages here.
Yeah, so this wrapper around this provides a context for our tracker to figure out all the signals that users are given, and so then it becomes much easier to kind of figure out what content to show for the personalization.
Yep, exactly. So just add a couple more packages related to tracking. Tracker is the one that orchestrates everything that we have in our system. And you can see I have navigation component globally added here, and this will just allow me to link to navigate between home and about. So just little facility here. On top of that, we have a couple of lib items that I need to drag over, and these lib items, let me bring the whole folder.
Yeah, just put the whole folder. There's a couple
There we
of
go.
extra helpers there that we'll get to in a sec, I guess.
So the tracker itself is going to consult this manifest file that we're going to pull with all of our personalizations, A/B test definitions. That will be bundled in your app. So there will be no runtime calls to our backend for it. That's just configuration data. And then it's important to configure where the actual tracking data is stored. You have options. You can use IndexedDB, local storage, external system. And since we track everything in cookies, again, this is first-party cookies. This will allow us to persist some of the scoring that we're matching. And you can see I sneaked into little edge handler. This is for the last piece.
Oh yes, we're gonna do some for sale edge stuff.
Exactly. So, also, we need to bring that manifest into our system. So I'm going to add a new npm script that will allow us to pull it in. So I'm going to call it right here from
Manifest.
CLI.
Oh, something's up there.
I think this was a previously copy-pasted version. Let's see. I think I broke my package.json file. That's great. Extra
Oh,
comma at the end.
extra comma at the end, man. There you go.
So you
It
can see
always
this is
trips
the
us up.
manifest. Yeah. Manifest is actually just contains the definition of our intents that we just created in UI. So this is something will be bundled in your application. Again, this is not visitor data. This is configuration data. And we should be able to just do yarn dev and then see if we have our app rendering now with personalization in place. So we have hero for everyone. You can see Chrome extension is lighting up, meaning that personalization is active and there is some intents available, allowing me to simulate what happens if I match developers. Well, get hero for developers. Let's hack some stuff. What if I match developers, but I'm more on the architect side? Now we have hero for architects. So personalization is working because everything is running here. This is all running client side on hydration time. We can also run it server side if you have server side rendering set up. But in this case, this works hydration time and server side rendering time together, I guess, which is fine. But we want to, after we deploy this app, we actually want to run it at the CDN itself and execute personalization in there.
But as a Jamstack site, right?
As a Jamstack
Initially.
side.
Yeah.
So static site that will be exported. So why don't we go ahead and do that? You can see, all right, we have couple of things we need to change. So first we need to change the output mode to edge because we expect it to run at the edge instead of running in a traditional SSR client-side rendering setup. And we're gonna need, because we're doing Vercel, we're gonna need to add another piece of the puzzle, which is called Middleware Gs. This is extra page definition. If you watch the Next.js conf, you'll be able to recognize this. So this middleware takes over request response for our app that will be running on Vercel, and it will activate our handler. And this handler that's tucked away here in the lib folder, this is the one that actually going to perform the job of executing personalization on the page. So the page will be pre-rendered static, but it's going to be modified before it reaches the browser with only the portions of the page you're supposed to see based on your context. So that means you can add your own stuff if you wanted to here to maybe do other scenarios that requiring edge functions. Besides that, I think we also need a custom document here, and this custom document essentially renders out default state for us, and it facilitates sync between next state and what happens on the server side. So some
So
boilerplate in
that is
place.
happening because I'm just learning about Next here. That is happening only for SSR related stuff, right? It's like your base page that has all the information for the render.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And I think we need to add a little bit of.
Do you have to install the cookie storage stuff, perhaps?
Yeah, we need to have a couple packages because the edge stuff is a separate package. We need to pull that in on top of that and see if anything is broken.
Well, still starting, so let's see. So is it running through the edge already, but locally now?
Locally, exactly. So
nice.
Let's go ahead and I don't like this warning. Let's press that.
Oh, I think your grid items need a key property.
Yeah.
Because you're looping over them.
Ah, that's all right. That's all right. I learned to ignore this for now.
Oh, really? I've had, well, I'm bold for a reason because I've had like huge projects where for some reason the caching was so weird and the things that we didn't work. And it was always adding a key. So
Yeah.
I tend to just add them. Anyways, for this, it's no biggie.
Yeah, since we're approaching the hour mark, let's go ahead and
make
test
it
the
so.
build.
Exactly.
And
so we're now actually doing SSG right here.
This is doing production build, right? So
yeah,
I can start up this server and it's going to run SSR on 3000 if I wanted to.
Oh, okay. So this is actually a proper SSR. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm. Now on top of that, now let's try to deploy to Vercel. So I already have. This will probably gonna ask me to create a new project. We're gonna see how that goes. So I can essentially specify the values of my environment variables here that I already have. So this is my API key. Don't look.
Be quick.
Oh, this is read-only API key as well. So
okay, I can just do this while you do this. Nah, I'll put it back, guys. This is only a read-only key, so not to worry.
All right, set up new deploy. Yeah, sure. Let's pick a team, existing project. No, project name. Yes. Now this handy CLI should be able to set up our stuff.
Cool.
I don't think we need to override anything. Let's just see.
This CLI is decent, man. That makes it so easy.
And as you notice, I have -- prod. So we're actually going live with this command.
Of course we're going live.
Should have tried this differently, but it's fine.
Is this going to be on uniform.dev? No.
No, it's going to be on Vercel domain.
Exactly. It's all good.
You can actually stream logs here. Npm install.
Oh,
Aha, aha, aha. One more
what
thing is
happened?
missing. Some of the packages
Oh, yep,
with
of
our
course.
special sauce are private, so the
Our
npm
private
install
special
failed.
sauce. That sounds a little Halloweeny, shall we say?
It's a special sauce. So npm-rc will allow me to pick my environment variable for npm token and use that to download private packages. We need that for the edge stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we're building. See if anything happens in Vercel here. Oh, we actually
Is there? Oh, there it is. But
npm
this is your
commence
install
build.
issue again. So it seems
Yeah, we
to
get
not be able to
404.
find our package there.
Interesting.
Is your npm rc host key on your path? That might be the thing, the npm token. And if it's not on your path, you might just want to type it in there. But that's not one you might want to share.
Yeah, that's fine. So why don't we, let me figure it out. I think.
But a local install is working, however. So that's pretty
Yeah,
interesting. Oh,
let me
do you
try
have to
to
give the
find it.
npm token to Vercel, perhaps?
Probably.
Yeah, and you can probably give them an environment variable.
Probably. I thought it would pick up from the npm-rc, but because it's running the build elsewhere, probably that's not.
Oh, that could be, exactly.
All right, so I'll be back in a second.
Cool. You're just
Live
adding that
stuff.
stuff to Vercel now. Yeah, that makes sense. So we still have 6 lovely visitors and viewers. So if you guys have any questions for us, feel free to inject. If not, also fine. We're just here having fun, going from scratch to something that is actually very decent in like an hour, which is, in my opinion, quite unheard of. If you see how much we've done. So that's pretty cool. So almost there, Alex. Are we good?
Almost there.
Nice. I wish I had elevator music, but I think that's probably not allowed.
Yeah, we need some sort of standby music or something.
Here, I'll just do it like this. So, just for people tuning in, we're actually, there it is. Working on, let me just remove our elevator music. Working on adding our npm rc token to Vercel so it can actually build. So let's see if it works now.
Let's see, it looks like
it's
something
working.
has compiled.
Yeah.
That's exciting stuff.
We just don't know what. Perhaps an edge worker.
So this
is our SSR. Nice.
SSR.
Yep. It seems to be working.
Serverless functions created.
In 646 milliseconds. Not bad.
Using beta middleware. All right.
Beware. Be careful. It seems to be working. Oh, I think your build is done, at least on your console. Production.
Now what happens if we do G equals 1? We are developers.
Oh, it actually works. And so this is basically personalization on the edge without JavaScript, right? Or is this still with hydration?
It should not require JavaScript. Let's disable it. Let's see what happens.
Oh man, this is the big moment.
So we're still architects.
Okay, so that means that it has understood to personalize this little bit without JavaScript on the edge with the new Vercel workers. Nice. So, Alex, would you mind pinging me that URL so I can put it in the chat? So people can have a look. I'll just go on Slack or something, or yeah, here, private chat, put it in.
There we go.
Yeah.
We are live.
Very,
Yeah, so
very
if you do
cool.
D equals 1, that's developers, A equals 1, that's for architect. Let's see how fast time to first byte is for the document. Dude, check this out,
So
63 milliseconds.
63 milliseconds. Well, there's not that much on the page, but this is proper fast for with personalization. I
Now,
love it.
now it's 2 seconds for some reason. Let's see what happens.
Let's attribute that to Vercel Edge Handlers Beta.
Yeah, now, see now, it's loaded fast for the first time.
Well, for me, it loads really fast. I'm looking at it on my browser here. And like these pages, of course, are static, right? But they also personalize. Because I'm seeing architects now. Let me just reset the scores. And then it shows me Hero for Everyone again. It works.
Yeah, there's something in my... I'm simulating slow 3G.
Why not?
Why not? So yeah, this is, sometimes it's going over 100, sometimes it drops to like 60, 70. So I think since it's still beta, I think there will be more optimizations. But yeah,
Well, most likely they just don't have it in too many places just yet.
I'm
That's
hitting
what
San
it looks like.
Francisco, man. I'm hitting a node
You're,
in my backyard, probably.
yeah, you're basically just going to the edge of the street. Man, that is something. And we did this in 1 hour and 8 minutes on top of shenanigans with me and my crazy face. Not bad.
I think we can do it in under an hour next time.
Yeah. I'll do like this. Oh, look at my bald spot. It's really weird now.
That's
Okay, let me
call it
just...
filters.
Filters. Let's just not do a filter. How about that? So this was great. And so we reached the hour. That was our goal. We still have a bunch of people watching. Would there be anything we could still do, Alex, to, give it a bit more fun? Is there anything else we could do?
What are you thinking?
I don't know. Maybe some... Can we add some commerce to this? Potentially.
Probably.
Maybe some big commerce, because we have this really nice integration with them and we're partnering with them very soon, releasing all that stuff. So that could potentially be cool. Or we can show how it works in Next, but that's kind of almost the same as in Next. So maybe that's not the way to go.
I think Nux deserves a separate.
Yeah,
stream.
it could deserve its own, because you know what's interesting, when Next 3 is coming out and when it's more stable, it will actually have the native serverless functions with API and all that stuff, just like Next has. And that runs in workers, and it can even run in a local browser worker if you wanted to. So there's a lot of fun stuff coming with that. And Vercel and Netlify and all these guys will be integrating with that. And so Next 3 will be kind of on par now with what Next is doing. So it's going to be super, super interesting. For me, at least, because I'm a Next guy. And so I'm learning every time I look at React stuff, which is great as well. And they're getting a little bit closer, right? So it's now just not which one is better, but it's more what is your opinion? What do you like more, basically? And so maybe we can do another stream a bit later on where we do this whole thing in the Vue ecosystem. That's all good for me. So,
Oh,
Alex, what do you feel about doing the big commerce thing? And if not, if it takes too long, we'll just end it here and do another one soon. Unless someone in the audience wants to see something. Let's see
if do we have any questions.
if we have any questions, and let's see if there's anybody watching on LinkedIn as well. I'm gonna have a look there. My internet seems to not want to work. If we don't get any questions, we'll just end it here. And for me, it's beer time, Friday night. For you, it's Friday morning. So you still have a ways to go today. Lots of things to do.
Yeah, I think next time let's target commerce, Nuxt.
Yeah, sure.
That will be fun. And
Yeah, great.
maybe Nuxt 3, since it's all hotness these days in Vue.js community.
And we've also managed to make all our packages now work with Nuxt 3 because it's running with Vite and it's doing ES build and native Node for a lot of things. So we're working on like how do our ESM packages output so it works in all these new modules and stuff. And it's all starting to come together. So I would be really keen to try that out. Anyways, but that's for next time. Oh, Alex actually has a question. Let's put it on the screen. When pushing the visitor score to dev, it blinks from arc to dev. Any chance on fixing that in 1 minute? Um, what could that be, Alex? Would that be our hydration potentially, or maybe because it's on
Yeah, it
serverless functions?
it blinks because it swaps out content because when it hydrates, it's getting new score. So essentially, to avoid that, you either use like skeleton loading technique. So you essentially swap out component without cumulative layout shift. So
Mm,
you essentially you cannot render component at build times. If you do static site export, you cannot really do that because you don't know which variants of component you need to show at that time. So you exclude that and you just render a skeleton instead, and then it's client side hydration will take over. If you don't want
yeah,
that, edge side, so that's another reason to use edge side. With edge side, there is no blink, there's no content swap because that happens before browser gets HTML on the
yeah.
on the
And
edge
so,
side of things. That's another option.
mm,
You're gonna need to have a CDN capable of that. So far we have it working on Cloudflare, on Netlify and Vercel, and working on Akamai as well. So that's
yeah.
that giving you yet another option.
So generally, Alex, the best that we would love to see is if you use an edge render to have the initial personalization in and then you hydrate. Because then slow devices can take some time to parse all the JavaScript, but it's already personalized based on the cookie that they had. So that's the nicest combination. So we actually have a question from Peter.
Thanks for a great question, Alex.
Yeah, it is. Thanks. So, simple question. Can you show what is possible inside the edge? Could we import another script or is it just super low level?
It is very low level. It is essentially DOM manipulation at the edge. So you can inject things in there, but it's like our library that transforms that special script. It's not extensible, so it is only allowing personalization A/B testing to take place. But you could, on top of that, you can post-process that stream that was processed by uniform library and do whatever you want inside of that function.
Yeah.
That could be maybe we do a more detailed deep dive on that. What else can you do after the fact? But within that middleware, you have access to essential end result, and then you can post process that yourself.
Yeah, and nothing stops you from just adding another edge handler function in there. If there's another API endpoint you want to use, you can do your own thing. But it is pretty low level, right? There's not that many basic imports that you get to use. I think serverless functions probably even do more at the moment than these kind of things. But that's all good. You know, it's innovation, it's new. Super happy to figure that all out. And for us, we've been doing this for a while now, so we've quite optimized it. And it's good to see that all these companies are coming out with their edge workers, and then we suddenly already have something. I don't think we had to change much code to make it work on Vercel, right, Alex?
Yeah, it's very much same code because I think Cloudflare workers are used under the hood with Vercel Edge functions, so it just
Ah, okay,
worked.
so it's very close then.
The activation
Yeah,
process is different, so the dev experience is definitely very much streamlined here with this concept of middleware
yeah,
and is familiar to developers. Yeah, as to that
exactly.
question, like we plug in here our handler, but you can plug in other handlers here, I can imagine. So we keep this piece open, and if you want to do geo-based redirects or some sort of post-processing, other injection stuff, you can.
Cool. So if we don't have any more questions, we're quite long now already, even though there's still some very awesome people that are still watching. So thank you for watching all the way through. If you wanted any information on this, let me just create you a quick banner, because we have this. You can actually come here. And then if you wanted a demo from us, like one-on-one, and you have all these questions that you might have in mind right now, we are fully happy to totally show you everything. And if you have some crazy use cases, we will probably be able to personalize around them as we do. And so feel free to subscribe to a demo, and we'll reach out. You can also find us on Twitter if you want to. So there's, let's see if I can display our names. Oh no, it doesn't work here. Anyways, cheers everyone. Thank you for watching, and hopefully see you soon.
Yeah, and happy Halloween.
Bye everyone. Happy Halloween.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Unicorns, unicorns.